would take the leftover material and cover the face. And then they would close the casket.
Yes, sir.
Are you thinking with me?
All right.
Mary would come to this tomb daily, and she would respice the body of Jesus, who was wrapped up in all this cemetery clothing. That was the way to preserve and keep the body fresh, to keep the odor down, and to keep it from deteriorating as quick. Amen. Today we use embalming fluid. But there was something that Jesus had told everyone before he even made it to this tomb. And what he told them was, I will be back. I'm going, but I'm coming back. On this particular day, where the love of Mary had driven her to the point that she would come to a dead man's ground. When she got there, the body of Jesus was in fact gone. Mary grew in fear, thinking that someone had stole the body. She ran out to Peter and Simon, two disciples that walked with Jesus, and told him, said, his body is gone. I don't know what happened to his body. When they began to do their investigation, they went and they looked inside of this tomb. As they look in the tomb, they see some things that stands out as strange. First of all, if someone took the body, they stripped the body down. Amen. For those graveyard clothes are now laying on the table that once supported his body as the bed of death. As they look further, there is the napkin on the table. Everything that should be in the tomb was in the tomb, except for the body. That's right. Simon and Peter, they began to wander off and begin to discuss this thing amongst themselves. There are some things that when we look at in life, when we know something is where it's supposed to be, we look at it and say, well, how did that happen? There's no tracks where anybody came and took his body. There's no evidence that anyone removed his body, but the graveyard clothes are still remaining there. As they went on, they carefully examined all of these clothes. And they found that, in fact, these are the sheets and the clothing that we wrapped Jesus' body in. Amen. They began to look at this napkin. And as they viewed this napkin, they began to notice that this particular napkin was folded. And it was placed at the head of the table. Now, to get a clearer understanding of the significance of what all that meant, because it only took people who were of the Hebrew nation to understand the significance of that napkin. In other words, the Hebrews had a great custom. The master, when he sat for dinner, the servant would come and serve him all of his food. Yes. He would sit there and he would eat until he was content. At the end of supper, the servant would come and clean the table, meaning that the meal was complete. Amen. I know it's going slow for you right now, but this napkin is going to make sense to you in just a little bit. Once the servant served the master his food, he would for the master to finish eating. Every now and then, as the master would sit and eat, there would come a knock at the door. And when this knock would come at the door, if it was business for the master to handle, he would have to stop eating. And whenever he got up from the table, you need to have a little code to let folk know what's going on. See, I can come to your house and sit down at your table and eat and get disturbed to the point that I have to get up and not be through eating as of yet. And you may come behind me and clean off the table. I may come back looking for my food, and you've already cleaned it off. So what the servant and the master had was a little code that they could understand each other. When the servant served the master would eat, and if he was disturbed, the master would take his napkin and he'll place it on the table. Now, I'm not going to tell you how he'll place it just yet. But when he placed it on the table, depending on how he placed it, told the servant what was about to happen. The master would then leave and go handle his business. Then he would come back and eat the rest of his food. When the master would leave and he was done with his meal, he wasn't going to return anymore. He would take that napkin and ball it up and place it on the table. That was the cue to the servant that the master is done eating. It's okay for me to clean off the table now. He's not coming back to eat anything else. He's completely done. So everything else that's left on the table is either dirty dishes or leftover food. There's no need for me to worry about what I do with what now. But if the master was going to return back to the table, let's just say he left some collard greens and a little bit of rice and just a pinch of chicken on the sideline. And he wanted to come back and finish that